is July 10th, 2025. The summer has been in motion. So hopefully you did get the updates and the information in regards to the parent support group this month. This summer has been action packed, I'm sure, for you parents as well. Today is just going to be myself. Jamar won't be present, but we wanted to talk about behaviors and managing behaviors during the summer months because it's different. It's not as structured. It can be fun, but it can be a lot. Let's just say that it can be a lot. Today's meeting, I do want it to be interactive. So if you have questions, comments, ideas, please feel free to give your input. And we are more than willing to respond to those concerns. So yeah, just wanted to talk about behaviors, particularly in an environment that is not as structured during the school year, right? So your children are at home more. Some of our kiddos have services that come to the home, and some of you actually have your children enrolled in extended school year. For those of you who have children under the age of 18, those who have children maybe between ages 18 or above, maybe they're in a day program, maybe they're in some type of vocational program. However, there's more pressure, more expectations, and more places to go and all of the things to manage on a regular basis. And so it requires organization, it requires planning, and it requires just patience. Okay. So one of the things I wanted to identify was to establish healthy boundaries. It's important for your children to know what the expectations are, what your expectation is of them, and what they can expect of you. If you are consistent in letting them know, this is what I expect, it's easier for them to deliver as opposed to trying to figure it out. Oftentimes, our kiddos who are neurodivergent, they need to know what to expect. When they don't, they begin to develop a level of anxiety, and that can result in adverse behaviors that can make them uncomfortable, but also, those of you who are managing those behaviors. So I encourage establishing healthy boundaries and maintaining those boundaries. What happens oftentimes is our kiddos, they will push the limit, right? So if you say, don't touch that, or, you have to wait for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, or, whatever the situation may be, oftentimes they'll push that limit, right? Because they want it now. Like, I want it now, put it on me, give me what I want. And so you have to choose when you're going to say no. If lunch is at 11:30 or 12 o'clock, this is what we're doing on a regular basis. And you have to be able to determine when that boundary has to be set and rigid, and when you can have some flexibility, right? And so I think that really helps the parent to be able to assert his or her authority. And it also helps the child to know, okay, this is something that mom will accept or dad will accept, and this is not something that he or she may or may not accept. The other thing is that it makes it easier for helpers in your life, right? So if you have family members who jump in and assist you, or loved ones who you may ask to watch your children at any given point, it helps for them to see that there is structure, so that when there's a handoff, it's clear what the expectation is, right? Oftentimes, with KJ, those behaviors would become awry, and so he would quickly let us know, no, I don't want to honor the boundary. No, I want it to be my way, and I want it to be right away. And so, because the behaviors can be so heightened, sometimes our kiddos can try to up the ante, right? And so it's like, no, I really want you to play. Say, I don't want you to throw the ball inside, right? So you have nice furniture, etc. I really want you to play that outside, but you can play on your iPad inside. You can play with your straws or your handheld fidgets inside. And so, maybe having playing a game of ball outside, come inside, and your child wants to continue that game inside, and you have to be firm to say, well, no, inside is not where we play ball. We may play it in the lower level or in the basement, something like that, but we're not playing ball in the living. And so At that moment, your child may choose, well, this is the time I'm going to have a tantrum. Right now, I'm going to flail, I'm going to scream, I'm going to challenge you because I feel like I should be able to continue my activities the way that I want to inside. And so within that situation, you have to then draw a boundary and let him or her know. Let them know, listen, at this point, you can either go to your room, put them in timeout, have them play on their iPad, re-identify and re-establish the structure that you have assigned for that given time. And it's almost like being willing to push the envelope a little bit to let them know, regardless of what your behavioral threat is, I am expecting for you to stay within these boundaries. And so, at times for us parents, that can be difficult. If you're working from home or if you have specific, guidelines that you have to be like, listen, like if you have a deadline for work and you're like, listen, I need you to be okay while I do this thing simultaneously. And, you're pushing the envelope and so they're pushing the envelope. And so what you can tend to feel is a tug of war, which is not fun. But ultimately, you have to let them know what the expectation is. If there is something that incentivizes them that is important enough to them, such as an iPad, you let them know, okay, if you now you're going to have to sit down and be quiet for 5 minutes and you'll get your iPad after that. That can be enough incentive to kind of calm down, help them self-regulate and calm down from that tantrum so that they can realize and maintain that boundary. What that does is, even though that tantrum occurred in that moment, it'll better prepare you for future instances. So the next time you're coming inside, you state to them what the expectation is, and they can often restate it back to you. And so oftentimes that'll happen with KJ, where I'll say, okay, no more ball inside. He'll say, no more ball inside, please. Throw the ball downstairs in the basement or put it wherever it belongs. And then we do the transition. Give him a snack, whatever that thing is. In that instance, once your child is willing to comply, that is the perfect time to reaffirm him or her, to say good job, high five, give them a preferred snack, etc. Because what we want to do is to encourage compliant or appropriate behaviors so that they will be better empowered to function in society. Oftentimes, because we have neurodivergent children, there's a sense of guilt, and we've talked about this in other sessions, right? We deal with guilt and overcoming shame. And so oftentimes we want to compensate. So what does that compensation looks like? It looks like letting them have their way. And that's a no-no. That's a no-no for our neurotypical children as well as our neurodivergent children. Again, we want to be mindful of when to be flexible. So say, for example, your child has been on task, all morning, doing exactly what it is that you asked for him or her to do. And what is helpful is offering them choices, right? So say you're going out to get lunch and you say, okay, in my instance, I would say, okay, KJ, what is it that you would like? So if he says, well, I would like chicken nuggets, okay, would you like to go to Chick-fil-A? And by giving him that option, I have now empowered him to know that his on-task behavior is what is his on-task behavior is what has gained him that opportunity. So what have I done? I have reinforced the on-task behavior. That's exactly what I've done. I've reinforced the on-task behavior. And that's exactly what we want to do. We don't want to reinforce the negative. We want to reinforce the on-task behavior, which can be difficult. So please let me know your comments. Drop some comments in the comment section, and we will certainly respond to those. We want you to be empowered ongoingly, so we have to know when to choose our battles. Okay. We've had a couple of instances this summer where we have had to redirect KJ, take him to a calm area, maybe for him to gather himself. Usually in church, he's able to stay inside of the service or in the vestibule, like the foyer area. But a couple of times we've had to actually take him to his calming room, which he's actually graduated from that. At one point he had to go there every Sunday. Now he's graduated to the point that he doesn't need it regularly, but if he does, it's available. So it's important to make sure that you have all of the things. Oftentimes KJ, the thing that he likes his straws. So whatever manipulative, whatever specific thing that your child needs when you're traveling, make sure that you have that. Also, I recommend snacks. Snacks. Absolutely. The juice boxes, and certainly the snacks can be healthy, right? If your children like carrots, if they like celery, if they like apples, cut them up. Apple sauces, as long as they're not too messy, you can gauge that. They're low sodium chips that they can, prefer. So just because they have snacks, it doesn't have to be unhealthy, but it just helps, particularly when our children are hungry, they can become hangry. So that hunger can turn into anger very quickly, and you may be in the middle of a ride. Your ride may be 30 minutes, 45 minutes if you're going to an amusement park, if you're going to, a family member's house or whatever. So you want to be empowered so that if they get hungry, if they're asking for, your attention, if they need something immediately, you're able to provide them with that thing. Okay. Also, wanted to focus on the positive, right? I talked about that. Just in essence, what we called it in behavioral health is catching them being good. There have been a couple of times that, that my son, he's been on task. He's done, what I've asked him to do, been self-sufficient, going to the restroom, giving him his snacks, not, attracting negative attention to himself. So in those moments when your child is quiet or they're okay with not having full throttle attention on them, I think it's great to give them a high five, reinforce that, encourage them, tell them good job. And in that way, what it does is it trains them to recognize that they don't have to negative attention seek. Right. Oftentimes when they have that language barrier, they're trying to attract attention in some way in order for you to pay attention to them, feel sorry for them, give them what they want. But if they can realize, listen, you've been on task, you've been amazing. And because of that, I want to acknowledge how wonderful you are. Right. So it can be buying them a toy. It can be a treat. It can be a sticker. And it can just be verbal affirmation. I encourage verbal affirmation because even during the times of redirection, you can redirect your child positively, right? So what you can do is let them know, listen, I know that you're capable of being on task. And so what I'm expecting you to do is to get in line within the next 5 minutes because you have it, not 5 minutes, 5 seconds, because you have it in you. And so I'm going to count to 5. And by the time I count to 5, I want you to be on task. Am I understood? Right. And then, oftentimes with KJ, he'll say yes. He'll say, yes, mom, please. That's how he says it. He'll say, yes, mom, please. Yes, mom, please. And so that's his way of showing me that he understands. And I might do a countdown. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? So that was his time to be able to cool down. You can engage your children in breathing exercises. We're going to breathe. Take a deep breath. It's okay. And here's the powerful word that we have as parents. You guys ready for this? No. Yes, I said it. The answer is no. And that's okay, right? And here's the thing. Oftentimes what I'll tell my children is, it's not no all the time. It's no sometimes. A lot of times I say yes. A lot of times the answer is yes, I'm willing to work with you, I'm willing to accommodate you. But in this particular instance, the answer is no. Why is that important? It's helpful because it allows for them to understand that boundary setting and limit setting is not a bad thing. It's a healthy part of life. And as we train our children to understand the aspects of life that are necessary for their development, one of those aspects is not having our way all the time. And as much as we would love for our children to be able to get their way all the time, it's not realistic. And if we always give them their way, we set them up for failure. We set them up for disappointment when they go to school. We set them up to be in instances where no one wants to watch them because they know how difficult they are. And what it becomes is it becomes learned behavior. It becomes learned behavior because now they know, okay, all I have to do is tantrum and mom will give me my way. All I have to do is XYZ and mom will, you understand? And so what I've learned is that there are certain battles that I may have to engage in, and I have to verbally reiterate, mommy loves you, but not right now. Right. Sometimes the word no can be a trigger. I know it is for KJ. And so what I will do is say, okay, instead of playing ball, you're going to watch this program. Or instead of playing ball, how about you draw this picture? Or, whatever the case may be. But it's almost like a redirection as it pertains to that transition. For our kiddos, transitions can be difficult, but if it is a preferred activity, and it's something that they feel that they're looking forward to and that they're going to benefit from, then it's not necessarily negative. It's all about perception. And we want to help them embrace being on task as something that they're capable of doing and something that is going to be rewarded, as opposed to when you get a tantrum, I'm going to give you what you want because I don't want to hear it. So I hope that's making sense. The other component is establishing balance, right? We want to be able to have balance for our children. Like I said, it can't always be no, it can't always be yes. There has to be a balance. One of the things that can be difficult with our children because they don't like change is to consistently do the same thing over and over and over again because we want them to be comfortable. So what we want to do is continue to introduce healthy change, but we become the consistent. So as long as he's with, or he or she is with someone that they trust, that they feel comfortable with, your verbal instructions, your implications can give them the structure that they need. Right? One of the things that we do in behavioral health is social storying. What that is giving your child an indication of what's going to be happening, particularly for that day. And so it can actually be something that's actually developed. If you have a behavioral specialist or behavioral therapist, what they'll do is they'll actually create pictures to indicate what's going to happen in that day. It can be a social story for going to school, for going to church, for going out in the community. And you can specify the places that are important for you. Maybe you'll ask for your behavioral specialist to do one for the zoo or one for the amusement park, or, whatever places that you feel you'll actually frequent. And what can happen is before you go out, you sit your child down and you say, listen, today we're going to go to the zoo. We're going to have a great time. You can show them what the pictures are, maybe some pictures of animals, etc. And you give them that affirmation by letting them know all of the things that they'll have, right? We're going to take your water bottle. We're going to take your special handheld manipulatives, whatever that looks like for you guys. We're going to get your sunscreen. We're going to go out. We're going to have a great time. Okay. And in that process, if your child is able to verbally express, what their concerns are, then you can alleviate some of that angst by having a conversation. If not, and you notice that they're showing levels of anxiety, how might they show that? They might pinch you. They might start heightening their voice levels. And so what you can do is you can give them that assist them with self-calming techniques so that they know that they'll be okay. All right. So I hope some of that has helped. One of the other things that I wanted to emphasize is creating a peaceful and healthy environment, particularly during the summer months, but this should be all year round. This is something that you manage and establish within the home, and it transfers over into the community. What do I mean by that? In essence, when you set these boundaries, when your child goes outside of those boundaries, you lightly, um, you firmly redirect them, but it doesn't have to be in a loud voice, right? You let them know, listen, that's not something that we practice. Let me give an example. KJ begins to, tantrum, or maybe he's upset because he's hungry, or maybe he's upset because we just came in from a trip and he just got home. He's just getting settled, right? He's a little riled up. One of the things that we do, and I've shared this in previous sessions, is we'll turn on worship music. Worship music is very effective because, number one, music is a source of therapeutic outlet just in general. And so the aspect of music therapy is helpful in and of itself. But when you incorporate the spiritual component, now we're able to address the root of what may be going on. So spiritually, when worship is released into the atmosphere, it's creating a level of peace that will enable a calm much more quickly if we try to do it without it. Right? So we immediately start identifying maybe some music that can help him calm down. Another thing that we do is that we'll use soft tones. Why do I say that? Sometimes less is more, right? And when emotions are heightened, it attracts the attention of your child when they see, okay, mom is calm. Mom is speaking in a calm, soft tone. And sometimes I'll come down to a whisper and I'll say, no, thank you. No, thank you. Right? And I'm doing this in the home. What does that do? It starts helping him to realize that what he's doing is not acceptable, but the manner in which I'm doing it is mirroring to him how to manage when he's not happy. And so when I start saying no, thank you, he starts to mimic me. He starts saying, no, thank you. No, thank you. And so now we're singing no thank you, as opposed to me yelling, shut that noise up, be quiet, we ain't having that in here. My yelling can disrupt the peace in my home. Now, there are times that I do feel that it is necessary to bring the volume up. What are those times? When safety is concerned, right? So if we're out in public, there are times KJ has this thing where he does this spin thing, and he'll do that like when we're in a parking lot. Say we're in the Walmart parking lot, we're walking to the store, and KJ, it's like he'll hit a car and run back to me and spin around. I'm like, son, firstly, some of these cars have people in them, and they're actually in their vehicle. That's number one. Number two, you doing these spin moves can potentially put you in position to get hurt. So my voice may heighten. Son, no, absolutely not. Hold my arm, that kind of thing, kind of pull him close to me. So certainly when safety is a concern. Also, when it's incessant and the tantruming is starting to dictate to the atmosphere. When the tantruming is starting to dictate to the atmosphere, and it's almost as if the peace in your home is no longer present, and the tantrum and the yell is overtaking the environment. That's when I think sometimes it's important to heighten your volume. And there are times when I will look sternly at KJ and I'll begin to speak the word. That's one of the things that we major in. I'll begin to speak the word, and I'll begin to say, KJ, you are a child of the Most High God, and this is not how we respond. You are able to exercise self-control. So I declare self-control right now in Jesus' name. And I'll begin to speak with him in a stern manner so that he understands. And there are times when he's heightened like that, then he'll begin to cry. And so the aggression now transfers over to a level of, it's almost like he's surrendering. It's a form of surrender, but he's still overwhelmed. He's still crying. Okay, it's okay. And in that moment, I'll say, if you want to cry out, you can cry out to God. Cry Jesus. And there are times when he will say Jesus. Well, he'll say Jesus. I'm like, well, call him, son. So if you're going to make noise, call on his name. And that's encouraged, right? And so I don't want to encourage shutting your child down, eliminating their voice. Don't do that. Allow for them to cry out, but give them direction as it pertains to that crying out. Here's another form of helping create peace in your environment. And I lean heavily into music because music is just who I am. But music is a universal language. And so when we are appealing to God and to the heavenlies, and we want our environment to be heavenly, what you're doing when you speak to your atmosphere, when you establish peace in your atmosphere, is you're inviting heaven to be on earth. And that's a part of the Lord's prayer, on earth as it is in heaven. So you're inviting heaven into your atmosphere because some of these behaviors are hellish. I mean, let's just be real. That's what it is. And so what I'll do is, and this is a form of spiritual warfare, but it seems like it's so subtle that it's almost like, really? That's warfare? That's exactly what it is. Worship is warfare. What I'll do is, we have a speaker in KJ's room. We play worship all night long. Usually hands down, even when we go on vacation, we play worship all night long. We have specific go-tos. Holy Spirit, you are welcome here. That's a song that we play all night long. What's happening during that time? That music is playing subliminally, and it's impacting KJ's spirit throughout the night. And so I don't have to be disturbed in my sleep. It's on repeat. It plays through his speaker. It's ministering to the atmosphere. It's establishing a consistent pattern of peace, right? When it's time for KJ to wake up in the morning, we have morning songs, right? So we might, sometimes we might listen to like just good morning songs, different, some of those, what is that young lady's name? I can't think of it. Oh my goodness. But some of these programs, the little black Gracie's Corner. Yes. So sometimes we might play, some of Gracie's Corner, things like that. But in the morning, we're playing songs like this week is going to be a week of miracles. We're playing songs like better is one day in your court than thousands elsewhere. We have a praise jam in the morning. This is what we're doing. And he's used to that. Right. And so there are times at night where I may go into his room, say, for example, he might have left the light on or something like that. I'm turning his night lights on. And I noticed one day he woke up and started saying, Holy Spirit. He woke up in the middle of the night and started saying, Holy Spirit, because of the consistent pattern of playing worship in his room on a regular basis. And so there is power in consistency. And I just want to encourage you, parents, because I know sometimes it can feel hopeless and it can feel like, oh my goodness, like, am I ever going to get a breakthrough? And so in the midst of a lot of tantruming, because I manage tantruming, that's what I'm talking about it. In the midst of that, I feel like God just allows me to know I am working on this. And when you partner with me and implement these interventions, it is having a direct impact on your son, and it's also empowering him, right? And so the other day, like I said, we went to Walmart, and while we were in the checkout line, previously, he's had like full all out tantrums in the checkout line. And I'm, just calming him down like, son, well, we have to get this food. Like, I can't leave right now. I have to buy these groceries, right? Because we're going to get home, you're going to be hungry, and then you're going to be hangry. So we got to do this. And so, but in this particular instance, we got to the line. I gave him his phone. I put his music on. At that time, he was watching Elmo. We finished. I want to say I was done in maybe 5 to 7 minutes. He did an excellent job. I was like, Father, I thank you. He had his music the whole time. I helped him transition. And Brother Man said, hallelujah. I said, excuse me? Come on here. Hallelujah. Then he said, glory. I said, well, hello. And so there are times that God will affirm what we're doing, because while we're in the thick of things, it's almost like we're firefighters. I called my husband a firefighter the other day, because we're constantly putting out fires, and we're wanting our children to develop these skills so that we don't have to redirect them as much, so that they'll have their own skills and be able to implement them. And so what I'm saying is, as you exercise a level of consistency over time, you'll begin to see breakthroughs. However, there will be battles. And so you have to choose your battles. I encourage doing those things at home. The heavy lifting of redirection, those things need to be managed primarily at home. My guy, he likes to show off when we go out. And so he tries to push the envelope himself because he knows what the boundary is. But when we're in front of other people, he'll try to act out to see how we'll respond, to see if he can get his way. And we reiterate it: no, sir. No, thank you. No, thank you. And so but it's not the heavy lifting of kind of like when it's almost like a shouting match that he'll get into. Like, he'll start shouting, and when I start declaring the word and speaking the word and that kind of thing, I'm doing more so at home. In the community, it's not as much, right? And so the heavy lifting of all of these interventions, when they're predominantly managed at home, it's almost like a window that you're able to implement when you're in public, because it's like you're mirroring what you do in the community, as it pertains to what you do at home. So if you have peace in your home, then you're able to mimic that in the community. If you don't have peace within your home, it's going to be very difficult in the community. Okay. And so I encourage, if you do have a behavioral specialist, making sure that those types of things are in place, as far as maybe they might be breathing techniques, self-regulation, assisting your child, and making sure that you're implementing them and holding them accountable. I can't stress that enough. With KJ and some of his developmental challenges, certainly I don't hold him to the same level of accountability as I would, say, his sister, right? KJ and Jen are 13 months apart. So KJ, he'll actually be 17 this month on the 22nd. It's his birthday month. And so, I won't hold him to the same level of accountability as Jen, but I will hold him to the level of accountability that he understands. So, for example, when it's mealtime, KJ knows to go to the pantry to get his placemat. He knows to get his plastic fork. He knows to sit down and to eat his food. He knows to bless it. He may ask for soda. He knows what to do. He drinks a lot of ginger ale, to keep his stomach calm. But he knows what to do. And so if he doesn't, say for example, one day he doesn't want to get his placemat, no, sir. You're still going to get your placemat. I know you may want your food right now, and you may just want me to do it, but I'm not doing it for you. So I need you to get your placemat, sir. It's okay. It's all right. And this is what the conversation sounds like. When he finally does it, good job, big guy. High five. Right. And so in the times when he is on task, or he or she, your child, make sure that you're positively reinforcing them. That encourages them to want to do it. And in those times when they don't feel like it, if it's taking a long period of time, if they have a headache, if they're not feeling well, those are times to be flexible, right? If they're not feeling well, if they had an accident, if they got hurt or some type of injury, maybe a boo-boo or something like that, I would say those aren't the times to stress, do what I said. No, it's okay. It's all right, son. I'll get your placemat this time. I see that you're upset. Just exercising that humanity and that sensitivity with them. What I'm encouraging is making sure that you hold them accountable to the degree of accountability that they are able to exercise, because otherwise it will work against you. It's almost like, when our children are ready to be done with potty training and they're already taking their diaper off, they're showing that they're ready. So if your child is demonstrating to you that they have the capacity to communicate at a certain level, it's important to meet them there. Little Johnny, I can see that you know better. And so if you know how to listen to daddy, then you should know how to listen to mommy. And then when grandma comes, you need to listen to her as well. I do that even with my eldest daughter. Jen is 18. If I leave Izzy and KJ with her, I reiterate it. And so if he acted out or he was inappropriate, I'll say no. I asked Jen to watch you. And so when Jen is here, she is the authority. I'm expecting for you to listen to her. So I need you to apologize. Say for example, he was, having a tantrum or out of whack, not paying attention. You need to apologize. Say sorry, sis. Sorry, sis. And so just so that that level of respect is implemented, and then in the same way, for him to know that his emotions are valuable as well. Right. So if his feelings were hurt about something, certainly, son, I didn't mean to hurt you, or, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, hit you, whatever, brush past you, something like that. But that code of moral conduct and that code of expectation, communication, and accountability is consistent across the board according to their developmental ability. And as you continue to believe God, to pray that there will be deliverance in these areas, you'll begin to see greater levels of aptitude, greater levels of response, greater levels of communication, and even greater levels of showing respect for all parties involved, because you set the bar and you allow for them to meet it. Maybe they're not completely there. So you let them know, you know what, I do appreciate you following directions earlier, but it seems like you're having a little trouble now. Are you okay? I know you can do it. Maybe I need to take that iPad. Oh, no, mommy, don't take the iPad. Okay, then let's follow directions because I know you can do it. Come on, you can do it. And begin to encourage, him or her so that they recognize that having character, having integrity, being someone who is delightful to be around is important. It's important. And so it increases the motivation of your community and your support system when they see that your child is incentivized at being the best version of themselves. Okay. So that's pretty much all I have for now. Please enjoy your summers. Monitor your children's behaviors. One of the safety precautions I definitely will say is monitor your children around water. Maybe you don't have a pool, but if there are pools within your community, neighbors, etc., neurodivergent children are attracted to water. Watch your children around the water. KJ gets in the water and just dunks for days. I'm like, son, get up. So we want them to have fun, but we definitely want them to be safe. We also encourage making sure that you're putting on the sunscreen, watching the UV rays, all of the things, adequate fluids. I encourage you to have your children drink water, not a lot of this stuff with these red dyes and stuff. Okay. You want to have them drink as much healthy stuff as possible, as little packaged food as possible. And I need to get on myself because my children do eat hot dogs. They do eat fish sticks, but as much cooked food as you can give them, as much fresh food as you can give them, just so that they're able to maximize in every sense of the word. I want you guys to have a great summer. We will be back the second week in August. But yeah, I want to ask, does anyone have any input? I know my girl Daphne is here, so you are definitely welcome to give input, Daphne. Our next KJ's Genesis Parent Support Group will be on August the 14th. So we look forward to that. Oh wow. Ooh. So we will have to reschedule that August the 14th. Wow, because August the 14th is my daughter's move-in day. My daughter's move-in day for college is August the 14th. And so we won't be able to do it that day. Oh boy. Okay. So we may have to move it to the 21st. Okay. So we may have to move it to the 21st. Please pray for us. Our girl is on her way to college. My kiddos, especially Israel, is like he doesn't want his girl to go, but she's moving onward, and we're thanking God for expansion and her accomplishing the vision that God has for her life. So we won't be back the 14th. We'll be back August the 21st at 12 p.m. You'll be getting those emails, and be sure to join with the meeting code from the flyer. So the link that we've been sending apparently has been a little quirky. So make sure if you're having trouble getting in, please use the meeting code from the flyer. The passcode is Genesis. Okay. At this time, are there any comments? Daph, did you have anything that you wanted to share or comment at this time before we close for the day? Okay. Okay. Well, if not, I hope that this was helpful. Again, drop some comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about the information that I've shared. Remember, this is lived experience, and so sometimes these behaviors are. It's one thing when you're talking about it. It's something altogether different when you're in it. And so, the more interventions, the more help that we can provide, that is our desire. We want for you to not only feel empowered as you're parenting your children, but we want you to enjoy the experience. We want you to enjoy your children, and we want them to enjoy you. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining us. Bye for now.